Just let me do some magic on here. Find a cable.
That's the one you had before.
Do you think that's the one? Okay, we'll go with this. 1 minute, please. Plug it in the right hole. Okay. Yay. Ha. Great when a plan comes together. Right, just have a look what's going on. Okay, great. So I was watching with great, I might probably stand over here actually. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay. Listening with great interest yesterday, mulling my presentation, and what I heard yesterday were some pretty amazing innovations and thinking about the future and what technology is going to do to change the landscape of what we're doing. And I was very inspired and interested, and I went, I'm talking about onboarding and blended. And I thought, well, you guys are doing that already, aren't you? Show of hands, who's got an onboarding program? Induction, onboarding? Yep. So you're doing it. Who's doing blended? Okay. So you guys are doing it. See, what's the point of talking about this today at a technology-based conference? And I guess what I want to reflect is what I've seen in some of the work that we're doing with our clients at the moment. And I think what that is has been a fairly big transformation in terms of what we're doing around blended. And I'd say that transformation has happened probably in the last 2 to 3 years. So by transformation, I mean the nature of the blend that organisations that we've seen are doing are incredibly more complex. There's a lot more to them. They're going on over a much longer period of time. There's a real richness to the type of activities that are going on. And really interesting to talk to one of my colleagues in the UK around where the UK is at with blended learning. And again, they look to New Zealand to say, actually, we've been leapfrogging. For some reason, we've done a kind of transformation a little bit quicker and maybe we're a little bit nimbler. But certainly, they're looking to us as some of the best practice. So we should on the back for that. So I was asking myself the question, yes, am I here? What do I think I can bring and why is that happening? Okay, what is making this transformation happening? So I think there are a couple of reasons. So I think the first one is 70-20-10. Okay, not a new model. That's been around for some time. Guess you're all kind of familiar with the idea of 10% of classroom and structured and 20% in coaching and support and 70% of that stuff that has to happen on the job and it's the most important stuff, right? No, it's not new. I think what's happened over the last couple of years is we've suddenly worked out how 70% can come into our framework for blends. So before, we used to let that just happen over there. Now, I think we've figured it out. We've figured out what we can do with the 70%. So how we can bring some structure and something into our frameworks and actually start tracking that and looking at that as a real learning activity as part of our blends. So I think that's been changing things. I think the second thing is technology, and that's probably why we're all here today. So technology in a couple of ways. I think learning management systems in terms of portals and places to track are really transforming what we can do. So again, we're thinking about these much more complex blends that are going on over a long period of time. Now that's quite a lot to track manually or through an intranet and gather kind of data. So I think what a learning management system is doing is allowing the ease of that. And so it's taking some of that pain away, and we're not quite so scared of having so many artefacts going on around a blend. And then the second side is the gadgets, and we've talked lots about the gadgets and what the gadgets can bring. But really what we've got now are content creation devices. We've got guides, we've got things that can kind of take us out into our organisation to do activities. Thinking about assessment and what we can capture in content creation and how that forms part of a blend. So I think those two things are kind of changing the landscape. So I thought today we'll just kind of talk through, I guess, some of the challenges. Why hasn't blended learning? A lot of some of you have been on the website, and there's plenty of the reports down the back, and I've been looking at that topic, and I've sort of come up, I guess, with some reflections on some of the key things that they're seeing that are making really good blends work. So, on to setting sail, because we are a nautical theme. And I thought, when we're talking about onboarding, it's a time to just reflect on our first experience of onboarding. So I want you to take a minute, close your eyes and cast your mind back, and for some it might have to go quite a long way back, some more recently back, thinking about your first job. Okay, that first day of your first job. And some of you may have had subsequent first days or first jobs. Okay, and what I want you to think about is what the feeling was. Okay, what's going on those first days? So, shout me out some words. What is that in here, in your gut? What's going on? Say again? Bewildered. Okay, great. Excited. Well, we hope. What? Anxiety. So anxious, but we're excited, pretty happy. So again, those are all emotions, okay? Great time for us to be kind of gathering, and that's the kind of emotion that we want to run with. So I was reflecting on my first day, first job. Again, all of those emotions there. And my first day, I was very excited. I was being Auckland, and I thought, business trip, wow, this is amazing, you know, got to stay in a hotel, 2-week training course, right? Front load everything they could into this brain so that I could go back and do an audit when I was back in the office. And that happened pretty quickly, pretty much after my 2 weeks, didn't much see my desk, touchdown, straight into it, drowning. Okay, hard, lots of coaching, you know, lots of, no, you're not doing it right, okay? That was the experience. Didn't see my manager really, maybe for 6 months. Okay, that was then. This is now. We know lots more about what a good onboarding should be. And so I imagine a number of you had a similar experience. Maybe it's more training, maybe it was less training, maybe it was no training at all, but pretty much that idea of something, and usually something front and then getting perhaps the essence of a great onboarding experience. And I thought, I was trying to be creative, and I thought of a song. Now, so I'm going to do a little bit of an onboard okie, and I'm going to need your help for this. So, it'll be a song that you'll all know. I've changed a few of the words to fit my purposes, but I'm going to need your help, so I would like everybody on your feet, please, with your best singing voices. Hopefully you will all know, so please sing along. You're going to be onboarding me, okay? So some feeling and some emotion into this, okay? So if technology goes my way, we hear some sound. I can hear it through my speakers. Oh. New job.
Exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you and love.
Hard work.
Life's sweetest reward. Let it flow. It floats back.
Beautiful. All right, you can sit down now. Sorry about the sound, but you'd make good. Now, wouldn't it be lovely if we arrived into our new jobs and that was playing? So, in all seriousness, take a kind of look at what was in there. So, firstly, you were waiting for me, okay? Waiting, ready. My manager wasn't leaving me at reception for 20 minutes because they were in a meeting. Okay, and you told me about what was expected in my job. You know, it was going to be hard work, but I'd get the rewards. And you talked about my development, okay, that I was going to get skills, I was going to get learning. Okay, all of these things are making me really excited, and my manager was there with warm and open arms, okay, welcoming me. But more importantly, I felt happy and I felt engaged. I was really excited, so building on the excitement of my job. So what we do know is onboarding is serious business, okay? We understand the statistics about if we get kind of on and if we get our blends right, we're going to increase retention. We know if we can retain our people, that reduces the costs of the recruitment. And we know that if we retain our people, we're going to have good performance out of them, okay? That is a no-brainer. But the reality is a little bit different. So again, let me ask this question. I don't know if any of you know this kind of stats. It's a global statistic. But, you know, what percentage of people do you think are leaving their jobs in the first year, within a year? Shout out a number, percentage. 30, 20, 60, higher, lower than 60 and 20, 10, 43, oh my God, you know, could be anywhere, okay? Interestingly, 1 in 3, 33%. That is quite eye-watering. But if we drill down on that and we say, what percentage are leaving within 6 weeks? Okay, so we've got 33%. Higher, lower? Well, it can't be higher, lower. How lower? 10%? 5%? You're very optimistic, you. 22%! Oh! So work that through, and all of you, I've spoken to a number of you who are really busy and finding recruitment hard, and we know that skills are really hard to find. We know that that recruitment round is cut 2.5 months. From actually, I need somebody today, 2.5 months to finding you new talent. So that is a very big cost, very, very big cost. So it is something we need to take seriously. So, at the heart of it, what is going wrong? We know onboarding's important, we know that the blends are right, so what are we not doing? Okay, so a couple of things, and I'll unpick each of these. So what we're doing is we're overloading the boat. Think of the little boat, you put too much stuff on one end, it's tipping it up. So what we're doing is doing a lot of front loading. We're rushing to get people on board because, you know, we want them up and working. We're not necessarily giving them what they want and when they want. And we're not supporting our captains, or who will be our managers. Okay, so take a look at this. Hopefully you can read it. Is this what happens? I've just started my new job. My husband says to me, "Darling, how was your first day?" And I reply, "The place is great. I'm really compliant and I'm well on my way to memorizing lots of processes and procedures, and I'm looking forward to implementing those as soon as I have some context." It's funny because it's true, okay? Again, what are we doing? Why is this happening? Organisations are overwhelmed by all the stuff they need to download because they want those people out. We've waited 2.5 months for this person to come on board. So the quicker we train them, the quicker we can get them doing productive work. But actually, remember the song and remember those feelings. Okay, actually, what we learners want on our first day is this. People have been friendly. You know, I really like the feel of it. These are emotive words. These are nothing to do with content and what the organisational values are. I can ask questions. So I have support and I have a manager. Think about all of those songs. You know, that's quite a contrast to what my organisation wants. And so thinking about it in this way, we've got two conflicting viewpoints here. So on one side, we've got me, the learner. And actually, what's my little hierarchy of needs? Actually, right at the heart there is connection and belonging. Okay? It is not, do I have the technical skills to everything, but will I weigh out the job set? Think about this at the heart of your learning. How does that change what you're delivering to people up front? Quite a different way. Contrast that with what our organisations want. And what do they want? Fast, quickly, get them trained, get them moving through. We need them competent and compliant. Okay? And that's why for many of you kind of in the compliance space, you know you need to tick some boxes, you've done their training, you need to... Oh, are we going to have guns?
Not yet.
Alerts. Okay, no, that's to the guns. So, again, we've got a bit of a dichotomy. And what we're doing with all of that is not leading to me and my emotion and my connection. We're leading to a whole lot of content. You know, we're pushing out acres and acres of stuff that we think our learners need because we think it's more efficient that way. Again, we've been waiting and we want our people to get trained up pretty quickly. And then the other mistake is really kind of overlooking our managers. So they're going to see blended learning in anything that's like, hey, look, all that on-job stuff, and you've got to do all these things, and here are your checklists, and you've got to do this stuff, and it's going to go on for months. They're like, whoa, too much. So again, one of the things that means onboarding and blends are failing is not really giving our managers some life support and actually thinking about them. 70% on the job, that relies on our managers to be able to do what they need to do. So we need to be thinking really clearly about how we support. Okay, so, you know, doom and gloom, however, there is help at hand. So what works? Okay, again, quick snapshot and I'll talk through each of these. Breaking up the journey. I'm a big fan of this. Think about pretty much a number. I will pluck a number out, 90 days. People talk a lot about onboarding in the first 90 days. 90 days is a long time. Okay, there is a lot that can happen over 90 days. So, thinking about a blend that's going to go over a long period of time, breaking that up into some smaller chunks in that journey. Running a campaign, so I'll talk a little bit about the thinking around how campaigns can help our blended. Starting before day one, not a new concept, but worth reminding yourself again about what you need to do. Human connections, and again, that's where I started, connecting with people. People don't join a corporate entity. They join a group of people. They join a team. And so it's really important that you think about how you're going to connect your new learner with their teams and people. Providing a map, giving people a sense of direction, building the brand into everything that you're doing and telling your own brand story and your organisation's brand, supporting your managers, and tailoring. Okay, so again, let me ask this question of you. Think about these two questions. Number one is, how long is your onboarding journey? And I expect that to be quite different for each of you. And how do you describe the end point? And that may be a little bit harder. How do you know when somebody has been onboarded? Is it suddenly that day 91, they're onboarded? Okay, so just take a minute or two, chat to somebody next to you and see how different are your answers around that. Yes? I'm good. It's all good. right. I hate to stop. I feel like you could probably discuss this for a next hour. So maybe it's a lunchtime conversation. Now, was that a difficult conversation, particularly question 2? Was that hard to articulate? Yep. Does anybody want to share a kind of what their endpoint looked like? Everyone got a good soundbite? Great. Okay, great, and good discussion. So, is it about feeling confident, or feeling good, or is it about competence? Okay. Any other thoughts anybody had? We'll have one more.
Firstly, we used one of Kineo's research to play.
Okay, great.
Just relaunched our onboarding program.
Cool.
So we, based on your research, track the speed to competency. So let's say day 90, you're meeting expectations.
Yep.
But good onboarding is also track the emotional journey. So do they feel like they're adding value?
Yeah.
Do they feel like they're a member of your own community? So
Yeah.
we put in 2 measures there based on.
Nice, I like that. So the emotional journey, and I think if you can take something away, I think that's a great point, thinking about the emotional journey. And look, there is no right answer, there's no right length. Different roles are going to take different things. I've had a client who takes 2 years, as part of that onboarding, because it's quite a complex role. So again, what do we do with that? That is sometimes a long period of time, and again, what I recommend is thinking about that period and breaking it down and aligning some goals to each of those. So I think the points that came out there, maybe feeling really good is a good day 1 goal. At the end of day 1, maybe we just kind of feel great about it. And maybe somewhere at the end of the journey is some competence, or maybe you're going to break up how that competence is going to appear. So by breaking down our journey, we can also break down the types of activities. So we want to have different things going on at each of those stops. So again, think how you can punctuate that journey. And that's going to be very unique to each of your organisations. And aligning those goals, figuring out, and that's often very hard to articulate. And I think, again, in my experience, that's about going out to your business leaders and your managers saying, well, when someone's ready, when they're onboarded, when they're competent, well, what does that look like? What do they need to have done to be able to get there? And so what this looks like, potentially in an online environment, is something where we can kind of track a journey, those little chunks, and you can see a range of activities that support each of those steps. Now, this is no flashy model, purely out of my head, because I thought what a lot of people do is tend to focus on the e-learning, and then maybe put up some other stuff or some reading or and that's it. So I think try to keep some breadth around what's in your blend. And look, I purely use this, no great thinking behind it, to try to compartmentalise and think about, have I got all the elements in my blend? So broadly at the top, I'm thinking about learning activities. So they may be classroom, they may be face-to-face, they may be coaching sessions, they might be online modules, simulations, animations, whatever that is, what type of activity. It might be a self-directed learning activity where I have to research something or go on a treasure hunt or whatever that is. I put in reading, and it was interesting, the discussion today from Elliot and around curation is there appears to be more and more stuff. We have a lot of artefacts within our organisations. And by reading, I'm talking about the stuff that we don't need to create in an e-learning module. Do I need an e-learning module that describes bullying and our bullying policy, when actually I've got a nice one-pager that describes our policy? And I'm talking about the policies, the procedures, the business processes, the standard operating procedures, whatever those are, those artefacts that are there, that really can complement what you're doing in your learning space. Connection is about a very broad range of connections, so it is about who are the people and the teams I need to connect with. What are the online forums? What are the mailing groups? What are the action learning, the peer groups? All of those kinds of connections within your organisation and possibly outside. So where can you connect people into? And then it's obviously the 70%. Huge amount sitting in there. So that's around what are those meaningful on-the-job activities, the shadowing, the experiences, the coaching, the activities, the for meals, the checklists that go. There's kind of a whole lot of rich stuff that's going to happen under there. And then supporting all of that, again, bearing in mind an assessment framework, an assessment that picks up prior learning, that is assessing how we're doing, that may be linked to certification and qualifications. And an evaluation of the program, and of course your personal development, because your blends in onboarding don't make sense if we're not integrating them with our personal development. So again, just a way for me to keep a track on what's going on. And so what does our Kineo onboarding journey look like? Well, I don't expect you to kind of read all of that, but again, a mix and a blend, a whole lot of different activities happening pre-week 1, day 1, week 1, weeks 2 to 4, weeks 4 to 8. So thinking about a 2-month onboarding. Different mix and different interventions coming at different times. Sometimes the more self-directed can come later, a little bit more of the face-to-face and the people interventions up front. And again, what we find, here's where the portals kind of come into their own. They're not only giving us that framework and giving us a way to navigate through all of this, a lot of artifacts going on, but they're giving us information about our progress. And by us, I mean the learner, my manager, and the organisation. Because again, you guys want some ROI, you want some data on which that you can report back and say, my blended program was really working. So another theme that we've seen, and we've talked about in some of the previous learning insights, is campaigns. And I guess campaigns in itself is talking about what can we take from marketing and communications into learning. Because what we do know is our learning has to compete. Okay? We're in a digital age and we need to compete to get people's attention. So what is advertising at the heart of it? We're trying to be eye-catching. We're trying to do something. We spend a lot of time here. So it's about doing something that's really different, that surprises people, that potentially makes them talk, creates some emotion. There it is again, okay? Personal emotion and connection. Keeps the messages alive. Okay, so campaigns, talking about things that go multi-channel. Okay, it might be posters, it might be digital. And again, I've seen a lot of clients doing a fair amount in the digital space, creating animations out of a model, seeing a little bit more around tangible things. So again, we have a lot in digital, but models, cubes, things, tangible. One with a client at the moment where we have a number of quick reference guides, and they want to issue headphones because the organisation has never kind of reference guides and the headphones. It's there and it's a message and it's always making it visible to learners. So again, being creative and having that sits right across all of the things that you're doing and right across your journey. So again, we don't want to focus on the first 2 weeks. This is about a kind of longevity in what you're doing around your messaging. Okay, and again, not a new concept, but what can we do before we start? Okay, picking up on those feelings that you had before you started. Yes, you're a bit nervous, so anything that you can do to make you feel less nervous, but you're excited as well. So there is a window of opportunity. We can do something. This is a UK example where they've used an e-magazine, an e-zine, sending it out to learners to say, look, here's what your journey's going to be, giving them some guidance, showing them some of the things that are going to be in store. Okay, that's quite a serious type of approach. And again, what I've seen reflected here in New Zealand is often there are a lot of barriers to being able to do anything pre-day one. And some of those barriers are, I'm sorry, we can't give people access to our intranet before they start. We just can't do that. IT won't issue it. There are sometimes issues with paying people before they've actually started. There are sometimes issues with, can we assume that anyone has kind of a device to be able to run that sort of stuff? So those are constraints. That doesn't stop you, because I think everyone will either have an email or they'll have a mailbox. Okay, so sometimes work with your constraints, but be creative about how you deliver. So I want to paint this idea because I think this is just so easy. This is a really easy win for you. Okay, take a photograph of your team, put the names of each of your team members on, have them huddled around you. This is your desk. Hi, I'm your manager. Hi, I'm John. I'm going to be working with you. Wouldn't it be great if your new employee comes in and they know the names of the teams? Radical idea. How about little video blogs that maybe could be sent out to people day by day? A little bit of a 30-second, hi, I'm Tina, and I'm really interested in world peace, and that kind of thing. So again, I've got a reason to connect. I have something, maybe I've got something in common with somebody that I'm working with. Okay, creating connections. Send an email if you can. Send an email, invite them in, provide some material on your learning, on your intranet. Okay, give people access. So this is all about human connections, making it human. So again, through your e-learning, building in aspects of stories, people as much as you can. Telling stories, real people and examples of what they do in their work. Or here another example of insights, and by insights I mean, you know, warts and all. Sometimes it's good stuff and sometimes it's not so good stuff, and that's okay. Let's tell people about the reality of your organisation. And again, what we want to do is help create those relationships. So make sure some of those on-the-job activities, those things that you're doing in that onboarding journey, are connecting them to your buddies. And sometimes I think it's just to say, yeah, you've got a buddy, great, here, go to it. But sometimes it's actually about saying, well, why don't we take a step back? Why don't we introduce some structure to that? And maybe you organise and you diarise a couple of particular updates and check-ins with buddies, with mentors, with coaches, with managers, whoever that is. And if you have action learning groups, put people on email groups, get them connected, peer networks, you know, invite people. And I thought, you know, imagine you could do this before day one and you get an invite in 2 months' time, team day, away day, or invite them to the first Friday night drinks. You know, so work out what's going on in your organisation and make people go, I'm part of the team now. I'm actually starting to get those emails. Quickest, and again, easy top tip, new employee, send them an email going, hey, great, can't wait till you join. Okay, again, starting connections. And so again, looking at that learning management system, which can provide that map. Okay, it's a great way to show me where I'm up to, what have I done, what have I got coming up, because this is potentially a long period of time. And is any of the activity that I'm doing leading me towards a qualification? So often the two things are not mutually exclusive, it's just we happen to be doing this over here in an onboarding, but some of that is actually contributing to a wider qualification. So let's show people, let's give them the timeline. And again, think about rewarding. You know, 90 days is a long time. You know, maybe after 30 days there is something. Use your system to send triggers to your manager saying, hey, this person's just completed their, you know, first 30 days. You know, maybe there is some assessment in there. Great, you passed and well done. Okay, it's a great way for us to reward, you know, our fast trackers and our talent. So why not recognise that and use the system to do that? And then brands. So again, if you think about joining an organisation, you have a perception of what their brand is and what it means. So this is about saying, think about your brand from an internal perspective and what you want to show your learners. And that's about getting a cohesive story. It's about telling your stories through everything you do. It's not about running that session on, you will now learn about our brand and our values. Okay? This is about actually weaving it through everything you do. And here's just a couple of examples. Again, different brands and different styles of travel companies, so everything has that feeling of travel and adventure. Or here in health services. And then, not to be forgotten, managers. And again, look, it's as long as a piece of string. It really depends organisationally where your managers are at, and only you can kind of judge that. It may be that some of your managers are going to need a bit of capability building to, be able to coach people effectively. It may be that you're providing a whole lot of tools for them, checklists, that they use on an iPad when they're in shadowing and coaching to provide feedback that pulls into their LMS. Okay, do they know how to do that? Do they feel comfortable using that? And actually asking the managers what they want, not necessarily what we want to give them. So, I had a client who went, those managers, not technology, give them hard copy. Like, okay, we can do that. There was an online version. I think maybe we had editable PDFs as the kind of compromise, but it could be done. You can have both, but ask your managers and tailor something that they're going to need. Cool. And then, final point really is choice and pathways. Now, again, takes a little bit of thinking up front. Compliance-based organisations, you've got some different decisions really, because there will be a whole lot of compulsory stuff. But providing people choice, allow them to browse. Actually, let us as L&D stand back a little bit and let people choose what's going to be important to them. Provide the journey, provide the map, here's what we recommend. But we know that people are going to learn in different ways. Just because I've set out a beautiful path for onboarding does not mean that that's going to happen. So allow them to skip steps and dip into what they need to. And importantly, people aren't coming in a sausage factory. We don't all come with the same skills and capabilities. So think about how you're going to deal with that. Why make somebody work through a whole lot of learning if actually they've got that and they're there? This is about managing your talent and providing fast tracks for the people that are there. Allow people to go ahead. And in fact, I've got a really good example where we did this with a client, and there was a bit of resistance from managers and from staff. But by providing a program and a pathway, it actually got driven two ways. One, these learners were so keen, right? They saw their 2-year pathway and they went, right, going up to their managers going, hey, this, and you need to give me some opportunities to do this type of work, and I don't rate myself very well on this, and what can you do? And likewise, the manager was much more aware of what that learner was doing. So I think it does have a really positive play in that. So look, that was a very whistle-stop tour of hopefully giving you a few ideas around what you can do for your blended learning for onboarding. Again, this is a bit of an expansion on some of the Kineo reports, which are all available there. George is holding them up. If you haven't been, please feel free to take. There's some great stuff. There's blended on leadership, on compliance, a whole range of things. So please feel free to read more.
Thanks very much, Tina. We have a couple of minutes for questions. Is there any questions for Tina? Microphone, please, Mr. Yang.
So you're talking, we've talked about how obviously there are different learning speeds, one size doesn't fit all and we need to kind of personalise and take our time and let them go off in the path that suits them. What are your thoughts? For example, a lot of our onboarding or inductions, we have bulk. So for example, I've just finished an induction with 17 people. So it's not always easy to let them kind of go off in a direction that suits them, although we'd love to make it personalised. I think that Cannon's about to go.
Cannon. Go on, talk fast. Oh, no, you've got to have the song, and then you have the
seven,
countdown.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Sounds like
1.
Happy New Year! No. Oh, they're all disappointed. They're all ready for it.
Let's keep going regardless.
Yeah.
Do I keep going?
So, sorry, 17 people.
Yeah, we often have bulk inductions
Yep.
or onboarding, so that's their
Yep.
first kind of exposure to the company.
Yep.
So what are maybe your thoughts or some tips around trying to personalise as much as we can, but then keeping in mind we do have a big group of people that we have to get to
Yeah.
a certain point?
Yeah, and so again, cohorts can kind of be quite a useful way of tracking a group, and often knew it's coming, still made me jump. Anyway. So, cohorts give you, I guess, some safety in numbers. There are some things, and sometimes more effectively in face-to-face, and that may be part of your blend. I think it's about finding the right balance. There is no one-size-fits-all. Again, you've got to see what's feasible. Remember, when I started very quickly, it happens into my first day. Well, it had a great impact if that happened on the first day, but I understand the logistics of being able to do that and run that. So you just kind of have to make some calls about where are those interventions, but you need to recognise we know that people don't all start neatly on one day and stuff happens, so thinking about what are some of your alternatives and playing with what you've got there, deconstruct it, go in a room and be creative and stick your post-its up and change it up.
Was there one more?
Yeah, I've got the mic, but it was a very similar question. So we're quite motivated to have the recognition of prior learning and have really role-relevant learning. But I was just wondering, is there an opportunity there to have one-size-fits-one type of onboarding? I mean, it's like a lot of back-end work, but are any other of your, any customers that you're working with doing anything similar?
Yeah, look, not a huge amount, but what I have seen is often it's just done in a personal assessment space. So when I come in, who am I, my manager, how do they know, how can they assess me? Actually, they can't really assess me till I'm 3 months in. And so in some respects, doing a personal assessment of skills gives my manager a good idea of what I have. Again, allowing that journey, any of the deficiencies, if I lied, no, I'm brilliant at it, and then they give me the work to do and I can't do it, are going to become apparent if your model is right. So that's the way I've seen it done. Yes, you can build your beautiful assessments and would take some time to do that. It is possible, and again, thinking about even a piece of learning with the pre-assessment that allows you to skip actually if you've done it is quite a good way. Or let people go and do the assessments, okay? Don't make the learning compulsory. If they've got the skills and if all we need to do is tick the box, let them go there, because if they can demonstrate what we want, then that's great.
Cool. Thank you very much. Well done, Tina.
Brilliant.
Great session. Lunch is served. What I would say is the illustrations, I've noticed a lot of people taking photos of the illustrations, and it's a roadmap or a mind map of what's actually happened in that session. So fantastic work, Tap in from Bloom. So avail yourself, look at those opportunity knocks. Well done.